From the Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University, ranked amongst the top 3% universities globally. Powered by General Air Conditioners.
Good evening, dear viewers. Tomorrow there will be Lieutenant General level talks between India and China. It's going to be a tough conversation. But this is our time. We have to stare back. And trust me, the Chinese will budge, we know it. If not now, if not tomorrow, if not day after, then like Doklam in 73 days or earlier, but they will budge. But as the lobby quivers and quibbles with a series of shallow questions, trying to create a sense of fear and paranoia, which is completely unnecessary. Let us pause to understand why China is being so aggressive. This question has come from many of you to me, so I shall start by telling you that in my view, viewers, there are three reasons. The first and most important reason for this new Chinese aggression is the massive infrastructure work done in the last 6 years by India along the border and the LAC. What does this mean? This means that we can move troops and logistics with speed to match China machine to machine, gun to gun, and soldier to soldier. Second, the decision by our government not to allow Chinese investments into the Indian market without control and government supervision, which is the right thing to do, to protect our own industry and our own manufacturing capability. And these Chinese hypocrites, especially who block even small Silicon Valley companies from their market, should be the last ones complaining. Third, India's decision to play a global role in a post-COVID world by building strong partnerships, alliances at various levels while leveraging our economic and strategic clout to play a bigger role in a new world order. Viewers, this directly threatens China's ambitions, which have been unquestioned for 2 decades now. Now, those people who are happy with Indian leaders who undermined India will not accept their guilt. Instead, they will question this round of tension. Viewers, no risk, no reward. We all know it. We are doing the right thing. We are risking antagonizing China because we are seeking our rightful place in the new world order, and that makes the Chinese insecure. But this risk is worth it. The reward is entirely worth the risk. So please don't let a bunch of lily-livered China lovers in India worry you at all or bother you at all. Viewers, in the next 1 hour, I'll explain to you why there is nothing to be worried about from China. Nothing at all. Biggest build-up to the military-level talks, debate number 1 tonight. Debate number 2 this evening. The rent-a-cause lobby must back off now. They want America to repeat here across India. And they want a repeat of Shaheen Bagh as well. Time to push them back. All this and more is coming up, and here are the headlines this Friday evening on the debate tonight. India-China to hold military-level talks to de-escalate the 30-day-long Ladakh standoff. India ready with a firm strategy as commander-level officers of both armies gear up for their discussions tomorrow. Vadra Congress must listen to their own Chief Minister tonight. Captain Amrinder Singh wants the government to go tough on Beijing. India begins a big campaign for the UNSC seat, spells out 5 priorities ahead of the June 17th vote. Shinebug to Shramik Specials rent-a-cause lobby now shown the mirror in the Supreme Court. And doctors question Uddhav Thackeray over COVID mismanagement as cases surge in Maharashtra and Uddhav loses his sense of grip over the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, starting 9 a.m. on Saturday, commander-level officers from both the Indian and the Chinese sides will be face-to-face, putting across their specific proposals on de-escalating the border standoff. But my dear viewers of Republic, be rest assured, India will not back down, won't budge an inch from its firm position when it comes to territorial integrity and sovereignty. Here is how the Indian side has strategized on the eve of the talks, and then we have a solid debate.
For close to 30 days, Indian and Chinese troops have been engaged in eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation in Ladakh. On the diplomatic as well as military front, attempts have been made to ease the tensions along the line of actual control. On Saturday, this location in Moldo border meeting point will witness a historic co-commander level meeting to ensure de-escalation at the border. The Indian side will be represented by Lieutenant General Harinder Singh, commander of 14 Corps, also known as Fire and Fury Corps of the Indian Army. He'll be accompanied by 10 other brigadier and colonel level officers who've been part of earlier border talks with China.
Militarily also, the talks have been increasing in terms of the level of commanders so that some final understanding is reached, and diplomatically also there is no escalatory no incendiary statement coming in, so to say. So I believe, I would also borrow from the Chinese side, things are stable and controllable.
This will be the second military level dialogue between both sides in the last 6 days, and the strategy is clear. India will ask China to bow down and follow the existing framework along the LAC. And all hinges upon dialogue, as the political leadership believes resolution is in sight.
दोनों स्तर से बातचीत हो रही है और मुझे भरोसा है कि स्थिति संभल जाएगी, परंतु मैं इतना आपके कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से देश की जनता के सामने स्पष्ट कर देना चाहता हूं कि नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा और देश के सार्वभौमत्व को जरा भी डाइल्यूट नहीं होने देंगी.
On the global front, the Modi government is ensuring a diplomatic coup to isolate and corner China completely, with the latest being India seeking re-election to the temporary UNSC seat.
Today, I am releasing a brief document that sets out our approach to our candidature. It reflects, in Prime Minister's words, our 5S approach to the world: Samman, respect; Samvad, dialogue; Sahyog, cooperation; Shanti, peace, to create conditions for universal samriddhi, prosperity.
Keeping sharp diplomacy and firm military resolve as the focus, India is aiming for a Doklam-like resolution to the Ladakh standoff. Let's debate.
I actually look upon tomorrow's talks as an opportunity to clearly place the changing new global order before the world. And I do wish that, all those people who've been peddling so much paranoia and worry should understand that the circumstances are changing, and sometimes these moments of tension are inflection points which will allow us to neutralize this myth of Chinese dominance and Chinese bullying. So I look upon tomorrow as a great opportunity. We have a great panel this evening. Delighted to see once again, after a long time, Prem Shankar Jha, veteran journalist and author. Mr. Jha, it's been ages. Good to see you, sir. We also have with us Professor S.D. Muni, former diplomat, General Bishambar Dayal and General G.D. Bakshi. I am supposed to be joined soon by Kamal Sibbal. I see his name on the panel. He's there. Okay. Kamal Sibbal is there, of course. Yes, there he is. Sorry. Top left of the screen. Ambassador Parthasarathy, former High Commissioner to Pakistan. What a great panel we have today. Professor Swaran Singh, of the Center for International Politics at JNU, Dr. Ritusha Tiwari, Assistant Professor at the Institute of Chinese Studies at DU, General Jaswal and Sunit Chopra. First of all of you, welcome. With a panel like this, I will listen more today and speak less. So I'll make an exception to start with. I think Mr. Jha will welcome it. So let me start with you, Mr. Jha. All eyes are on the military level talks. Now, these talks can, in my view, become a game changer. We need to stare eye to eye China at present. We need to understand why they are pushing India now, why they have become aggressive. How do you view the talks tomorrow? I view them as the possible arrival of a new India in the global order in a post-COVID world. How do you view them?
Arnab, first, I think there's a small difference between aggression and assertion. What is happening is China is taking an assertive position on where it wants that line between us and them to be, both in Pangong Lake as well as in the Galwan Valley and elsewhere. Now, the difference between the two is that the line of actual control is not like in the Himalayas, is not like the line of control between India and Pakistan. The line of control is an actual border. It's a continuation of the international border, and it's a European-style modern nation-state border, a hard frontier in short. The line of actual control actually is a soft frontier. There's a gray area on both sides of it, which both sides claim, and we periodically, as you know perfectly well, and as members of the panel know, we have these face-offs. This face-off has been particularly serious, and they're not moving back from what they consider to be the line of actual control for them. And that is the difference. It is not aggression, but assertion in a gray area of their area. Why are they doing it now? Why have they not done it before? I believe that they're trying to send a political message. I don't think, therefore, that the general level talk will do more than simply make it clear to each other that India is not going to back down. On the other hand, India does not want hostilities with China. The Chinese will say exactly the same thing to us. But this will have to be resolved at a diplomatic level, and for many reasons, which have to do with the way that
let me put it this way to you. I believe that there won't be much budging by India either. Both sides are going to hold on to their situations. In this, which follows, the question will be, and let me put that to Ambassador Parthasarathy, what will China do if we refuse to budge? If we say we will not let you move further from here, we are not going to move much ourselves, we have a situation, we want to go back to the pre-April 1 situation, you are not going to let us go there. What can China do?
Look, we've had two such situations, Sundarangchu and Doklam. Sundarangchu, really, we positioned ourselves militarily in a way which made it difficult for them. This was General Sundarji's doing. Doklam was really on Bhutanese territory. We ensured that we stopped them there, and that's where matter stands. Here, I'm afraid there are two things. I agree with Mr. Jha that it will be a gradual and graduated process. I don't think they're keen on going in a war. But the reason is not just the Pangong Lake or the Galwan River. They are extremely concerned at the communications we are building. One going through this area up through north, beyond Trishul to Daulat Beg Oldie. Daulat Beg Oldie is the spot which this is all about, and the road construction we are doing. We have known that, and the message we have sent is that we intend to go ahead with it. We have already designated or are working for 11,000 construction workers pouring into Tibet and the other bordering, into Ladakh and other bordering areas. So it is going to be a process of communication, of talking. But I'm glad, I'm firm of one thing, the government understood this, that Pangong Lake and Galwan River are bargaining points which the Chinese have done an intrusion. On Galwan River, I don't think they can sustain it long. Panglong Lake, in two of the places they are located, is a position which we'll have to ponder over. But let's remember another point here which we've never had. In Ladakh, for once we have extremely strong deployment on ground. There is a whole division there. There are the latest tanks there. There is artillery. No doubt the Chinese have an equivalent thing. But in this smaller area where we are deployed is one thing, and coming from across the Karakoram Pass, something else. So this will go on for some time. I am very certain that after having decided to send the construction railway workers, after having started to bolster your strength in Ladakh, we aren't going to yield. So yes, you will have a status quo, I think, for some time, and then we'll have to negotiate it. The other point is that in negotiations, there is one advantage. You're dealing with one person who's all powerful there. And I think the meetings Mr. Modi has had with him are successful, but he would know well enough that Mr. Modi is not the one going to get ground. So I'll leave it at that. I've spoken too much already. But that's where we stand. Yeah. But really, it's been a tough position we've taken, and I'm glad we've done it.
I'm very glad we have done it. I agree with you. We were talking about this yesterday on our program. I just hope my dear friend Sunit Chopra, is listening today. Because the problem with Sunit Chopra is he has got many problems, many gifts as well, I must admit. But the problem is anytime I speak a word against China, he says, oh, you are a rabid China-phobe. And he calls me names, and then he says, yesterday he said, we are going to lose, they are going to beat us, they are going to lose. You see, today, Sunit Chopra, you have a lot of experience, wealth of experience and depth on the panel. So I think today's General Bakshi, Sunit Chopra should listen to the point made by Ambassador Parthasarathi, that this is a response to our building capability.
Mr. Jha and Mr. Parthasarathi, and they are saying very sensible things.
Yeah, they are saying sensible things, starting, which was the same point I made at the start of my program, that this is happening because of. So allow me, I don't want to fight with you today. I've taken a vow today not to fight with you. But I'm telling you what Mr. Parthasarathi said, what Prem Shankar Jha will also concur, is the fact that why are the Chinese doing this? They are doing this because of the tremendous investment in capability building, scalability, infrastructure, logistics, everything happening on the border. And I think someone said yesterday, General Bakshi, that if we continue to do this in a 4 or 5 year horizon, we would have more than equaled the Chinese presence along the border in LSC. General Bakshi, please, can you please respond to Sunit Chopra, please, before I move on?
Can I, Mr. Sunit Chopra? Thank you. Arnab, why are the Chinese putting up this systematic pressure? It is premeditated. It is being worked out at the theater command level with assent from Beijing. They haven't, they haven't put pressure on you at a single point, as had happened in Chumar, Demchok, and Dotam. You see, they have selected 4 points of pressure, 3 in Ladakh, 1 in North Sikkim. Right? They have brought in a brigade each. A brigade minus is at the Pongongso North area. A brigade is above the confluence of the Galwan Shock River junction. And they have come into the heights which overlook our Dobruk, Shock, Daulat Beg Oldi road. This is a cause for concern, because though it's not the line of control, and there is that ambiguity which they have taken advantage of, but it has tactical implications in that it threatens our axis. We are determined to complete this 255-kilometer road to Daulat Beg Oldi, the last point that we hold there, and we, despite China trying to browbeat us, this construction will continue, because China took advantage of the Peace and Tranquility Accord to build up all its communications to Class 70, world-class level in Tibet under the pretext of tourism and trade.
Yeah.
When we are
and now
building
and now
roads
they stop us
in
from doing the
our
same.
own territory.
So
China
however,
has no business to object.
let's
It has
look
no
ahead.
business to object.
Let's look ahead, General Jaswal. Now let's try and read their mind. Let me draw in General Jaswal and Kanwal Sibal now next. General Jaswal and Kanwal Sibal, we are here to understand this, that in this negotiation, if I may call it, which happens tomorrow, how can the Chinese respond? You know, I've been told that the Chinese are very, very strong in posture. And as you know, General Jaswal, the Chinese army hasn't effectively fought or won a war for a very long time. I don't know if any. But they're very good at posturing. So I'm quite sure they're going to posture.
42 years.
If India says we are going ahead. Now, you know, they've raised questions in Uttarakhand, in Nepal. They could do more around the chicken snake area. What is the posturing which we can expect them to do? Because they will want to, you know, whip themselves up into a frenzy, even if it's up an act. What posturing could they do, and how should we respond? General Jaswal and Kanwal Sibal, please.
Okay. First of all, you had in a very lucid manner, you had explained the whole gamut of their posturing which they have done. And as a matter of fact, there are two, three strange things which have happened. Earlier, the face-off used to take place first, and thereafter, build-up used to take place. This time, the build-up has taken place, and then the face-off has taken place. If you extrapolate this, that means they want to continue over there. Two, the status of LAC, described very well by Mr. Jha. Let me tell you, the transgression aspect, it is perfectly fine in the finger area because there's a difference of perception. In the Galwan Valley, there is no transgression. There are no two lines, there is one single line. So in the Galwan Valley, it is intrusion, not transgression. Coming to your point, Chinese, if they have deployed this much of force, they have de-escalated the situation for a while by separating the troops, but they are likely to stay on there, and I'm very happy Indian Army is posturing, but to get into a kinetic mode with them, well, it's a very big decision, especially in this time when the economy is totally down. They will withdraw probably, but they will ask for concessions.
What concessions?
Typical of Chinese, they want to ask concessions. I'll tell you. For instance, they will say, okay, we will withdraw in the Galwan Valley, but we will not go back beyond the LAC. Similarly, in the case of fingers also, they may withdraw up to a point, say finger 5. And they say, sorry, we're not going beyond this. This is neither your territory or our territory. So these kinds of concessions, they will definitely like to go in.
No, but what is the need for us
course,
to reciprocate? They can ask for the world.
The plenary,
General Jaswal, I take off where you left it for just a minute, and I push that to Kanwal Sibal. Kanwal Sibal, if they are seeking concessions, there is no need for us to reciprocate. A. B. We can tire them out. C. What is our medium to long-term priority? It is to build our capability and our infrastructure and to do it unimpeded over a 3 to 4 year period. Will the Chinese remain there for 3 to 4 years? Is that the kind of terrain in which they can last 3 to 4 years? Can we push our way back? After all, General Jaswal, we are the world's largest ground force. The Chinese, for all the big talk, have cut down their strength by half. If they are spending 5.1% more in military spending, we are spending almost 7% more. And we can match them. But I've always felt that we don't think about it. This Chinese smoke screen of military strength. Our S-400 missiles procured from Russia come with elements of
I would like to
S-500.
respond
The
to your
Chinese do not. No, point I'm making to you is that, we have a tactical advantage. In the positioning of our aircraft, all the Chinese aircraft are on the eastern seaboard. They cannot deploy all their aircraft against India because of the limited airfields in Tibet.
No.
No, because of the situation in Tibet.
Allow me to respond before Mr. Sibal.
So I'm saying, are we undermining our geostrategic strengths? May I ask Kanwal Sibal to respond, because you've painted a rather dismal situation for India. But let me ask Kanwal Sibal to respond on to what you've said. Kanwal Sibal,
I wanted to clarify.
I'll let you come back to you, sir. Yeah, Kanwal Sibal.
First of all, China is in occupation of large swaths of our territory. It's a fact on the ground. And they are far beyond their 1959-1960 line. They are holding on to their 1962 line, which is unilateral, and which we don't know where exactly it is, because there is no well-defined line of actual control. So they can keep shifting their 1962 line, claiming that they control areas, that the areas they control were always with them. So that is one. The other is, what are the lessons China has learned from Depsan, from Chumar, or from Doklam? If they feel that they gain something from this, then they'll try to gain the same thing from the present confrontation. Now, the third thing is that we don't know why Chinese make these decisions. Their whole decision-making process is opaque. Their calculations are opaque. There has been no provocation from our side. So insofar as the building of infrastructure is concerned, that is one of the principles they have accepted, both in the 2005 guidelines and parameters for solving the border issue, as well as the 2013 border mechanism defense cooperation agreement, which recognizes the principle of equal and mutual security. Now, once they recognize the principle of equal and mutual security, then we have all the rights to develop the infrastructure on our side, if not to match, at least to balance somewhat the first mover advantage they've had over the years. That is the third thing. Fourth thing is, having blocked us at Finger 4, and we've had these stone throwing and all these scuffles there between the two sides, I'm not very sure whether they would allow us to go beyond Finger 4 without a really physical conflict of some sort. With regard to Galwan, they want to threaten the new road we have built. We are not threatening them. We don't want to launch an offensive against these fellows. So therefore, I don't know what they are concerned about. That simply because we built the road and therefore we'll be able to better patrol the areas which belong to us. How is it a threat to them? We are not building up an offensive capability. So often we have said at the highest level that we are building up a defensive capability. We want to stop Chinese adventurism. But they are objecting. I believe they have actually captured the heights on the Galwan Valley, and to dislodge them from those heights may not be easy. If, as was said just now, as part of the drawback, they say that they will maintain their positions on their side of the line of control, which means that they would agree with us that that is their line of actual control. Then first of all, from the climate point of view, winter coming, this may or may not be feasible, this I don't know. But the fact is that their intention would have been clear and would have been reinforced that they want to threaten this very vital road which links Dollar Bay Oldie to Galwan Valley. So we can't accept that. They have to move to the rear positions, to the places they were in before they moved forward, even if it was on their line of actual, inside their line of actual control, they have to move back to the rear position. This is what we must demand. And on the principle of equal and mutual security, they can't ask us the same, because we are on our side of the line of actual control, and this is simply to
there's a lot at stake.
Let
me play devil's advocate. The reason that may not happen, Kanwal Sibal, is because in a post-COVID world, there have been questions raised even about Xi Jinping. I mean, there is going to be a big meeting of their party in 2022. There have been questions over his handling of the situation. Believe me, it is not the same Xi Jinping before COVID as it is now. He's a much more weakened person, and a weakened Xi Jinping can be extremely dangerous. He may be looking for the opportunity. Let me get Professor Muni here with Swaran Singh as well. You see, Professor Muni, we are seeing a very interesting situation develop here. The most interesting situation, and the question Mr. Parthsarthi also raised, we are not sure why the Chinese are doing it. I can only guess, Professor Swaran Singh, and I want you to come in with Professor Muni first. Professor Muni, I can only hazard a guess that this is all about, China settling into a post-COVID world. The post-COVID world order has just begun to settle in place. A new power dynamic will happen. New alliances will come forward. There'll be greater diplomatic prowess for India. The Chinese can look ahead. They know that the Modi government thinks differently geostrategically from previous government. The geostrategic center of gravity could come to India. And therefore, before this becomes a situation where China could be edged out a bit, they are piling on the pressure. So I think more than just the small gains, territorial gains they hope to make in Ladakh, is their assertion that we are still the big players in the geostrategic order. Do you look at it that way? And if that were to be the game, how do you think Xi Jinping is going to play this out tomorrow? Will he relent? Will he pull back? Will he change any position? Because people are watching him back home.
Well, Arnab, I want to strengthen the point you are making about the Chinese post-COVID world order and their thinking about it. I must submit that one of the major concerns of the Chinese have been that besides raising the what you call the infrastructure point, we have also politically asserted that we want to take POK back and Aksai Chin back.
Yeah.
And therefore they are really worried, and I would say art of defense is to attack. So this is what the Chinese are really doing.
How much further can they take it?
Therefore, I would find that their negotiations would be very tough, and they would not really, well, they would find it very difficult unless to take assurances that somehow, don't forget that they have huge investments in POK in Gilgit-Baltistan, and they have very strategic points in Aksai Chin, Karakoram Highway. Then Siachen also, we are very much there. So the Chinese are really worried. To my mind, the Western Ladakh is very critical for them because of this defensive position. And that's why they would probably bargain very hard. And maybe these negotiations at the commander's level, the political level.
You're saying they'll force a discussion at a political level. They will not seek a reconciliation at tomorrow's talks, even if one were possible. Professor Swaran Singh, you agree with that assessment?
Well, they may show small gestures, but they will take it to the political level.
Sure. Yes.
Let me say at the political level, President Xi Jinping has met Indian Prime Minister more than a dozen times. And he fully understands how Indian Prime Minister would behave in a situation of contention or tension with any country. So he's familiar with Indian leadership's strengths at this stage. But let me say tomorrow, when it happens at the Lieutenant General's level, Chinese are not going to be tough negotiators tomorrow. They are going to really relent and allow this to go back. In fact, they have already withdrawn from Galwan Valley slightly, about 2 kilometers, I'm told. Indian forces are also withdrawing a kilometer likewise. They do not want this to flare up. Their simple strategy is 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards. They are going to continue to have this first mover advantage repeatedly, and now they are doing so.
But what will they gain? You see, I think you're looking at it simplistically. Let me go back to, let me engage you with. Let me engage you with.
Give them a little pleasure to say that we are moving forward inch by inch without being really, seen and then, clear to other countries. They will move imperceptibly, and mention of the Finger 4 is being made repeatedly. They had actually built structures on Finger 4 during 2014-15, and they demolished those when India.
No. One minute. Okay, let me play devil's advocate here. Let me get Dr. Ritusha Tiwari and General Bishambar Dayal here. I'm not so sure of that. Because in any negotiation, there are both sides and they have to go back home with something. Now look at the things India has done. We have said that Chinese FDI, foreign portfolio investors, will have tighter scrutiny. We're not changing that. We have extended anti-dumping duties on Chinese goods. We're not changing that. We have moved towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. There's a growing anti-China sentiment. That's not changing, right? We are benefiting the most from the Chinese exodus. Companies are moving towards India. That's not changing. So Professor Dr. Ritusha Tiwari, I think the pressure is on Xi Jinping. I mean, this may seem absurd to people, but I personally feel now, if there's someone under pressure in this discussion or negotiation, it is Xi Jinping. Firstly, he's under scrutiny at home. He's not the same Xi Jinping as pre-COVID. There are rumblings within the Chinese Communist Party. He's pitched this too high. If you see the Global Times, he's just pitching it and pitching it. It's almost, I said on yesterday's program, I feel the Chinese are losing their nerve. This is not the China we were used to. You know, there's something post-COVID, they are losing their sense of calm. So he has to go back with something. What's that going to be, Dr. Ritusha?
Yes, thank you, Arnab. My sentiment is quite similar to what you've expressed in this particular regard, and I think what has been happening in terms of China's statements and sentiments vis-a-vis its borders with India, and also its aggressive stance in terms of how it conducts its other conflicts with other countries is primarily as a response to the kind of global reaction that has been there for China's lack of early warning in terms of COVID. So post-COVID world, perhaps China wants to establish its military and superpower status in that sense. And these kind of posturings, either vis-a-vis India or vis-a-vis Australia, are to be taken in somewhat in that regard. Now, having said that, I would also like to connect your previous question, whether what is the takeaway for China is one thing, but what could be the takeaway for India is another thing. And what can we do regarding the strategic capabilities that are in the making? Is it something that we can turn the tables on? I mean, how China responds, that's a question validly asked, but I think how India responds is something that we have to now move forward to. So rather than just responding, perhaps it's the time for turning the tables. It's the time to sort of push the agenda and push the envelope, as it were. And these kind of standoffs provide us an opportunity. So I would say that maybe push the agenda for strengthening early warning, early response system in bilateral crises like this, so that the assertion that these kind of conflicts are not something that merit a third-party intervention goes across very strongly at the global level.
Which we have already done.
At the regional level, when we mix this kind of early warning, early response, it need not be just confined to the kind of military kind of conflicts and the border standoffs that we have. Probably we can also bring in our negotiation table the idea that what India and China need to talk about is about people-centric issues, and not just military, not just border dispute, but economic, socio-economic restructuring.
Well, I think
all
we are,
of these kind of
the fact is on economic issues
are at hand. So it's important for us to sort of augment our strategic
but you know, Professor
we
Ritusha,
have to push for them. I don't think that even the government of India is trying to push any kind of...
but you see, Professor...
It's not trying to push any... Even the government
Dr.
of India is not trying to push for any kind of military standoff or, supremacy
but there is a difference.
With China.
Dr. Ritusha, you are, of course, a far more experienced observer of Chinese affairs. But even, any of us can see one thing of late which has changed, and I'd like General Bishambar Dayal to come in on it, that, our military, our polity has become immune to China's psychological warfare. I'm not sure about whether Chinese are great in real warfare, because there is no proof for it, because they haven't fought wars. But one thing is there, that India will not fall. You see, the Modi government did not fall for China's psychological warfare, whether it be in Doklam, whether it be in provocative messages in the media. So I think we've seen a change of, like Sunit Chopra, nodding your head is no kind of an answer. I like your smile, but it's, you know, the fact is, you've got to understand. I think the Chinese are not being able to deal with that. General Bishambar Dayal, please. General Bishambar Dayal. Yeah, you've been waiting.
Arnab.
Yes, yes, sir.
Arnab, I will not repeat what most of the speakers have spoken already. You have to keep in mind that tomorrow a military leader is going to speak to his counterpart, and he is going to be a matter-of-fact officer. He is going to look into his eyes, and if he'll tell him that, friend, I know till what line you came in 62, and beyond that, if you step in, you are stepping into Indian territory. And if you have stepped in and if you have violated it, this is the last time I give you to revert back, to go back. Indian army does not suffer with any complexes like the Indian people suffer, like the Indian polity suffer, or the Indian diplomacy suffers, or Indian bureaucracy suffers. Indian army is very clear-headed. Psychologically, we are very, very trained. We are very tough. We are very, very trained. We are one of the most trained army in the world. In Kargil, the world has seen what an Indian soldier is capable of doing. This corps commander knows that his soldier is tough. His officers can lead from front, that he will be backed by the nation. If I was in his place, Arnab, I will look into his eyes, talk very softly, very assertively, but tell him, friend, if you have violated any line in Galwan Valley, if you have crossed Finger 8, please go back. If you don't go back, I will throw you back in the month of October. I will build, throw you back. This is the line which I think is rightly suitable for China. I'm not talking about Chinese.
Yes,
of course, it is a narrative built by China. Of course, it is a narrative built at the highest level. Of course, they are looking at some political concessions. Of course, China is looking at some diplomatic concession. No question of stopping any build-up or our infrastructure. No question. Anybody who thinks we will stop our infrastructure over dead body of a soldier, what are we talking? Indians, this infrastructure, government should back. The country should back. The soldiers wanted it. They will continue. Jal Jaswal is here. Jal Jaswal is a very senior. Jal Jaswal has been Northern Army commander. We wanted this infrastructure. We wanted this infrastructure, and this is coming up, and nobody can stop it. And anybody who tries to stop it under diplomatic, political, I'm telling you, he will face a rebuke from own Indian Army. This corps commander will say, I will not let my country down tomorrow. I am the one who can embarrass my political leadership, my country. I will not let that happen. I am the man on ground. This is his side. You must look at his side with what position he's going to talk. He's going to talk that anything where I slip up, my country gets embarrassed, my political leadership gets embarrassed. My constitution says I have to guard everything, so I guard everything. So look at his side. Don't talk of...
I got your point. I'm just very eager for responses.
Please look at his mind. He's a soldier.
I'm very eager for responses. The only point of difference I have... If I may. Okay, let's get Prem Shankar Jha to respond to you. Let's get Prem Shankar Jha to respond to you.
Can I
Prem Shankar Jha, please, to General Bishambar Dayal. Yes, sir.
Well, let me start by saying that there are no more braver or more heroic soldiers that I know of in history than the Indian Jawans. If you don't only have to look at what we managed to do at Kargil, which has been a military lesson that people have come to learn from, but even in 1962, if you think of it as a defeat, the heroism of our soldiers and the kind of casualties they inflicted on the Chinese is quite incredible.
They fought.
It's that knowing they would die and they fought till the last bullet.
They fought in 62,
but please, may I say one thing? One moment. Let me just finish, please, if you don't mind. But the point is this. We are strategically at a terrible disadvantage there. We should not be looking for a fight there. On the other hand, we should not give an inch of what we consider to be our territory. That territory is being well defined and will be defined by both the military commanders tomorrow once again, and also at the higher level. We have extremely good people in the Foreign Office. We have they know us very well. I don't think they don't want to fight. I guarantee you that. They don't want to fight war with India. They want reassurance that India will stay firm.
No, Prem Shankar Jha.
May I just finish?
Yeah.
One more sentence.
Okay.
The implicit and explicit understandings which will underlay the 1993 to 2006 agreement. That's what they want. They're afraid that there is a certain unpredictability in our government's behavior over the last 6 years. They want to clear that. And they would have preferred to do it without having to do this. But they said, okay, look, we're a government, we'll try for the best, but we also prepare for the worst. That's all it is.
It's fantastic response there. I want to get in also Mr. Parthasarathy on that one. The small point of disagreement I have with you, General Dayal, right? If I may. See, General Dayal, I on the first part, I completely agree with you that our army will give it back, soldier to soldier, general to general, officer to officer, on the LAC. But where I disagree with you, and maybe Partha can add in on that, is that you see, now you must understand, your old gripe about diplomats not being tough and the army being tough does not work now. Because I've been witness and one minute, allow me to complete. There you go. You see, you're not letting me speak. You see, this is what happens. You see, what happened, General Dayal, is today I broke my record. I listened for the longest time on the program, but I'm also the casualty because I listened for the longest time on the program. The one occasion when I want to speak, you're not letting me speak. I am only passing the baton to Parthasarathy. What I'm saying is today diplomacy is not divorced from our military position. Rather, I would say it is not undermining it, it is accentuating it, it is strengthening it. We are an active stakeholder in modern power dynamics. General Dayal, we will not compromise in front of China. We are building an arsenal of allies. Today, countries like US, France, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, soon there will be one partnership with Japan too. We are building an arsenal of allies all over the world. We signed a shared vision for maritime cooperation and an MOU on defense cooperation with Australia yesterday. No, 1 minute. We are not going to be browbeaten into bad deals. The G7 invitation put the Chinese off balance. I'm telling you. Let Parthasarathy tell you more. He's much more experienced than that. The Chinese are not being able to deal with this kind of aggressive diplomacy, so I want him to respond to you. General Dayal. Let him respond to you. Let him respond. I have to go to everyone. You see, that's why I'm very unpopular with my panelists, because I try to balance and give everyone time. Nobody gives me time. Parthasarathy.
Well, let me say that having been, unlike the people here, involved in the Sundarangchu discussions when General Sundarji was the real hero at that point in time. But the fact of the matter is, these are decisions taken politically. This is one facet of a larger canvas of our relations with China, and that has to be fitted in. We are in the process of doing that. One of the factors of that process is to tell China that, look, you can't push around in our territory the way you want. You didn't succeed in Sundarangchu, you didn't succeed the next time around on the Bhutan border, and now we're not going to let you succeed. Again, I go back to what I say, the most important thing, the signal they get, continue with that road and strengthen your communications. That means they understand you are playing it for the long run. Yes, you will have tactical situations on the ground, change little here and there. But I'm convinced of one thing. You have to convince China, and I think it's happening with Mr. Modi's leadership, that brother, we ain't budging.
True. So true.
Let's settle on something which is mutually acceptable. I'll tell you what. Even that statement of Aksai Chin by the Home Minister in Parliament was thought out. You have put them on a quandary by saying this was a part of Ladakh. So you brought in from our side a new aspect to negotiate, because we had never demanded Aksai Chin till then.
So true.
And I know I've been in this sector. So I think this is it's going to be a long process. Let us not leave our guard down. Let us reinforce our equipment. And we speak very bravely of our armed forces. I think in some of our armed forces,
tell me,
needs modernization.
Tell me, sir. If I want you to. I want you. So I have a question to ask you. I've never been driven by consensus of any program I've ever done. But for the first time in my career, I'm asking for a consensus among all of you. Will you come back if I take a short break? Because popular demand is that this debate goes on for another 10 minutes. So do I have a consensus from you? Then I'm going to take because I have to take a short commercial break. If you stay with me, I'm coming back in a few minutes, so don't go away anywhere. I think I have a consensus there because I have to listen to SD Muni, I have to listen to Partha, GD Bakshi, Kamal Sibal.
We're all at home.
You know, it's never happened.
We're all at home, we have nowhere to go.
I don't know what's happening. It's never happened. Everybody agrees with me today. Great. Viewers, few minutes, this fantastic discussion of what could happen tomorrow and what could happen after that. I'll be back. Welcome back. All eyes are going to be on the military level talks that will take place between India and China tomorrow. Lieutenant General Harinder Singh of the 14 Corps will be leading the talks from India at a border meeting point. The idea is to de-escalate tensions in Pangong Tso, Galwan Valley and Demchok, where India is staring off and staring down China eye to eye at the present. We're looking good diplomatically, militarily and economically, but some cynics want to cow down to China instead. I think not. I'd like to go to Kamal Sibal right now. Kamal Sibal, is there pressure on China? Is there pressure on China or not? They are the ones who escalated this, so there should be some pressure on them.
Yes, I think they have made a serious mistake.
Because they're not fools enough not to know that we're not going to back down. The stakes on our side are much higher than the stakes on their side. Because they are intimidating us, browbeating us, bullying us, whereas we are genuinely defending ourselves. And this whole business that we are threatening Excitin is utter nonsense. Excitin is a political issue. It's not a military issue. And then if our Home Minister quite rightly said in Parliament that Ladakh includes Excitin, I don't think this is a provocation. Look at what the Chinese have been doing, especially since 2005. The whole of Arunachal Pradesh is ours. They started giving staple visas to people from this region. They shortened the border between India and Tibet. They started calling Arunachal Pradesh South Tibet. And they have openly demanded Taiwan. Now look at the series, quite apart from other provocations, whether going to the UN Security Council on the Kashmir issue, blocking us in NSG, bolstering Pakistan, the CPEC violation of our sovereignty, which they know because they haven't recognized POK as part of Kashmir, part of Pakistan. So therefore, let's not weaken our own case and get into this self-guilty mode that somehow just because one
Prem Shankar Jha, respond briefly to that.
China has a case. No, they don't have a case.
They don't have a case. Prem Shankar Jha, brief response from you on that, please. Brief response from you on that, please. To the diametrically opposite position taken by Kamal Sibal today. I mean, we have to stand up now. We've made too many mistakes with China. Prem Shankar Jha, you know, you said we are not in a position of strength there. We are in a weak position. That's not the way most people look at it.
Let me just give you a few facts. We are talking about one road that we are building at this moment to Dolat Begoli. And yes, it's quite an achievement, given the terrain that is going through. But the Chinese have 13 roads coming to the same line of control, of which they are much better built. The terrain is absolutely flat or nearly flat, undulating. And there are 3 heavy roads on which they've already brought tanks and artillery into the area. The second thing is, don't forget that from next month, or from maybe later this month, till about September, you get landslides galore. And then I have actually been in that area and I've seen that road, part of that road. It's a light road. It's a communication road. And Chinese have no illusions about that. They know that this is not a military road. Their only thing is that, look, you keep talking about taking back Gilgit. You keep talking about your thing there. You refuse to join the Belt Road Initiative because you said that until you say that Gilgit is a part of India, we will not join the BRI. And the Chinese have a major artery going through the Karakoram Pass. They feel worried about what we are doing. And so what they are doing now...
So we have a lot of leverage as well.
Let's talk this through and go back to where
we have a lot of leverage as well. By the way, it's not just one road. There are 68 road infrastructure projects which are being built in that area. General Bakshi.
Yeah, I know. But they're tiny, Arnab. I've been there. I've been to all that area. They're tiny. There's nothing like what
GD Bakshi responding to you, Prem Shankar Jha. GD Bakshi.
Mr. Prem Shankar Jha, if you will kindly allow a soldier. Thank you. Thank you. Let me give the worm's eye view. Mr. Prem Shankar Jha, in all humility, I would like to submit that Lakhs of tons of water has flown down the Brahmaputra since 1962. It is not the same army. The Chinese army hasn't fought a war in the last 42 years. The last war they fought against Vietnam, they had come out second best. It is right now, with China? What does this mean to want a war with China? A very theoretical army. Excuse me, sir, can I please finish, sir? Can I please finish? I am just stating this, sir, that we should not back down. Our red line should be clearly defined. Our instruction.
Let's bring Partha into this. Partha
must go on. No threat to our road will be accepted.
Let's bring Partha and SD Muni into this right now.
We have to kowtow or back down.
Okay, let's get Partha and SD Muni into this one. Sunit Chopra, what's your problem? Sunit Chopra, what's the problem?
To placate China.
Every time GD Bakshi speaks, Sunit Chopra responds. Yes.
I simply have to say one thing. This is a very serious and a very successful diplomatic step that we are going to face, both China and India. We should make the best of it. Drum beating will destroy any chance of getting anything out of it.
Who's drum beating?
Except more time.
Who's drum beating? Who's drum beating? Who's drum beating? One second. Let's get. No, I look at it differently. Partha and Professor SD Muni. Partha, whatever SD Muni, Partha and SD Muni, whatever, my view is, whatever happens tomorrow in the next few weeks sets the stage for what happens for years to come. I mean, what position would you rather be in? Let me ask you, Sunit Chopra. You want us to be dependent on China for drugs? You want us to be dependent on China for drugs?
Knows anything about war?
No, 1 second. Our country has been over 90% dependent on China for key raw materials for making essential drugs. We allowed ourselves in that situation.
Due respect. That's what we've done all our lives.
We have allowed a trade imbalance with China to affect the Indian rupee. Have we not? Partha, you know it. Have we not? I mean, we've given China an edge without even asking for equality in turn. Professor SD Muni and Partha. I think Bisham General Dayal wants to respond to Sunit Chopra. Yeah, go on, General Dayal.
Who have taken money out of this country. They have done more damage to you.
Arnab, you all must know, and he must know that China is not here to fight a war. China has come here to set a narrative, to lay a narrative and put us into a psychological thinking like that. His myth has to be broken. There is no question. Let me tell you, China is not here to fight a war at all. More than anybody, they themselves are scared of a war with India. This you must understand.
I wouldn't say that.
So myth has to be broken. Their narrative has to be changed.
That's why I feel the pressure is on them.
Only be changed.
That's why I feel the pressure is on them.
Military leader
I agree. I think they are they are trapped in their own they are trapped in their own myth which they are trying to write. Sunit Chopra, who's the pressure on? My question is to Partha and Professor Muni.
The pressure is
No, the pressure is on China, sir. So why is such a China file? What is that the right phrase? Beijing file.
And you have to improve your situation without drum beating.
Sir, you have been an avid supporter of North Korea, and hence I'm not surprised with the position you have taken. May I request Partha and SD Muni to come in on my simple question? Who's the pressure?
I think I don't want to be disrespectful to the elderly gentleman, but I'm myself quite elderly. But the fact of the matter is that you have had a face-off. I don't think China is now, given its present situation, where it is tied up horribly with the United States and has problems with every other neighbor. China is an expansionist power, seizing and expanding its maritime frontiers, not just with Philippines, with Vietnam, with Indonesia, with Malaysia, with South Korea. China is an expansionist power.
Yeah.
In territorial terms.
Yeah.
It sets its own maritime boundaries. It does not respect international law or the law of the seas. Let us be very clear and not woolly-headed about China. But it is also a powerful neighbor with whom we have to live and deal with. And dealing with them involves several measures. That is what overall diplomacy is all about.
True.
But one important factor of that overall diplomacy is military power and ability to see that on territorial terms we are not humiliated.
True.
Or pushed aside.
True.
I think that is precisely what we are doing. The construction of the road sends a very clear signal.
Yeah.
It also, we have brought Daulat Bill into the bargaining chip now for the border. So let us go about this one by one. One last thing. The Chinese have got away with murder on trade on us. I think that and economic relations should be totally reviewed and changed.
Yeah.
And the other point, the other point is stay firm. In dealing. Don't the Americans and all are there, but the whole of Southeast Asia is against them. A country like Vietnam is against them.
Yeah.
So I think they are an expansionist power.
Yeah.
Deal with them in that manner. So I just want to say one thing. In Myanmar, they were training ethnic rebels called the Wa State Army. They were training the Arakan fellows linked to the extremist organizations there. We finished them off, and now they are helping us defying China on our border insurgency.
I think,
so let's not underestimate ourselves.
No, you are.
And the other point is the use of overall national power. Military power is an element that stays behind as a deterrent. Never give it up, especially with China.
No, I agree, and I'll give the last word here to Professor S.D. Muni, waiting patiently. I believe, Professor Muni, that somewhere, I mean, you can correct me, you're a man of much more experience, but I believe that the Chinese are off balance a little bit because of three things. They are not used to this kind of India. One, I think the G7 invitation. If you saw the response in the Global Times, they really got rattled. Secondly, I think the Quad. Our Quad allies, US, Australia, Japan, on the sidelines of UNGA. The rejuvenation of this alliance is the second reason they are losing their equilibrium. But if you ask me, the little noticed reason why I think they have really lost their equilibrium is the fact that we sent 2 Indian MPs, which has not been spoken about, to attend the online swearing-in of the president of Taiwan. I think Meenakshi Lekhi and Rahul Kaswan, 2 BJP MPs, did an online presence at the swearing-in. In 2016, we had backed off. So I thought that was really refreshing. And I think that would have really needled the Chinese. What do you think?
You chose the worst MPs.
Please, don't get petty about this.
We know who they are.
You're
Professor
right,
Muni.
Arnab. You're right. You are right, Arnab. The international context is heavily weighing against the Chinese, and they are quite acutely aware of it. But in addition to that, at tomorrow's talks, I think we should also read them out 1993 and 1996 agreements, because moving of the armors and changing the military situation on the line of control is in violation of those commitments which the Chinese have made and reiterated again and again. I have no doubt that the Chinese will have to back off, but as I said, they will back off at the political level, and President Xi would like to give an impression that he is sensitive and accommodative to India, being in view of the total context. And therefore, it is he who would say that, okay, we are going to adjust our situation. Military talks are being commanded from the Chinese side by the commander of the Xinjiang southern districts. And he's the one who has created this situation. And therefore, I find it very, very difficult to accept that he would simply say, okay, we will withdraw.
Yeah.
And that's what I said, the things will go to political level and perhaps settled at the political level.
Yeah.
It is possible that some minor concessions may be given at the military level, but eventually it would be settled at the political level.
Absolutely. Well, I hope, I mean, it's a moment for national unity, and I really hope there should be no petty political point scoring on all this fascinating discussion. Good to see many of our old favorites back on the channel. Thank you, everyone, and we will be keeping track very closely starting early tomorrow morning.